Hi guys, it's Phil again. In this video I want to introduce a new product I've bought, my GARMIN inReach Mini. I've brought this because I'm replacing my Spot Messenger and I thought I'd do a video on why have I bought this and what's it all about. So we'll go inside and we'll quickly unbox it and we'll see what we've got. Right, so let's have a look at the box for the GARMIN inReach Mini then. So as you can see, it's a small box. This is the actual size of the unit, by the way, and there's some writing in multiple languages and it explains what the unit's all about on the back. So let's start by opening it up. It's a nice quality box, easily opened. First thing you see with everything, big warning. And then the unit itself in this kind of little presentation thing here. So we'll place that off to the side for a second. We'll take out that bit of cardboard packaging. So in here we've got a plastic bag with some bits in, manual, and I think it's a warranty, but basically 2 bits of manual paperwork. Throw them aside. And here we have a different mount for the back of the inReach so that you can basically use this in combination with a bunch of other GARMIN products, and I think that goes with different mounts and that goes on the back of the unit like so, but that basically screws on using this. In the plastic bag we have a cable, pretty standard, an Allen key and replacement nut. I think that's to apply the other mounts, and then we've got a carabiner that goes with this little tab on the back of the unit here. So that's what comes in the unit. Having taken off the protective film, you can see we've got a nice glass screen. On this side we've got an up and a down arrow for selections in the menus, and if you get underneath this flap here there's a micro USB port for that cable that we saw earlier. Flipping things over, we've got an OK and a back button, and under this flap is the SOS button. There, I think that would be very difficult to press by accident. This flap does not move. Turning to look at the top side, you can see here the actual power button, so we'll press that and see what happens. Once the GARMIN's turned on for the first time, you get this screen here. So if you look at this, we've got activate and skip. We can scroll through those options just using the buttons on the side. So we're going to go activate, OK. So it tells us to go to inreach.garmin.com, which I've already done. So we will continue. That tells me my IMEI number, and then it'll look for a satellite. So we're going to take a pause here. I'm going to go and see if I can find a satellite for the thing. So once you've entered your IMEI number and the activation code into the inreach.garmin portal, the activation process is pretty simple. You get a message saying activation complete. So we're going to say OK. Now the next job is to pair to a phone. So I will show you how to do that quickly. So we go OK, and that puts it into pairing mode. We then go onto our phone. So to pair the device, we go into our GARMIN EarthMate app, and in there under More we find the options to connect. So at this point the inReach should show up. We click on it and it now says that we're paired. As you can see now, the GARMIN is saying that it's paired with my iPhone. So we say OK, and we go back to the main menu, which is now time. From here we can scroll down and we can see our messages if we want to. So there's the previous one. We'll go back. We can go down and we can see that the mail was last checked about 8 minutes ago. So we could force it to do that again. This is where we go into the tracking menu. This now tells us our location and usefully our altitude as well. We've now got a menu to show us our speed, and we can see that as an average over the course of the day. That's currently displayed in miles per hour. And this is the weather menu. So this is the one that will cost 1 message, and it depends very much on your plan how much that's going to cost you. And then back to the start again. Overall, at the moment, I'd say this is a robust little product. It's nice and light, but at the same time, it does feel like it'd take a bit of a beating. So it's nice, hard, rubberized plastic that feels like it'd be quite difficult to drop. And it just feels really robust. As I said, this nice solid glass feels like it'll take a bit of a battering as well, like all my kit does. And it's just a nice shape to hold. It's very much like a small Motorola mini walkie-talkie. In fact, to give you a feel, that's how similar they are. I'm not sure I'm going to be attaching the carabiner that comes with it when I can just do this and I can attach it onto any of my kit and it can just hang off my harness, etc. So I think the next thing to do is to focus on using it. So I'm going to get used to the menus in the UK. I'm going to use it around going to work a little bit. I'm going to practice sending a couple of messages, getting weather, etc. I'm going to compare things like the altitude to what things like my Suntoe watch show, and then when we're out in the Alps, Claire and I will practice with it. We'll get some video using it. We'll see how useful it really is in real life. As I said, Claire and I were going on a trip to Zermatt. That's where we are now. And we've just finished doing a spaghetti tour. I'll leave a link up here to the video for that. And yeah, we used the Garmin inReach Mini while we were up on the mountains. We had some positives and some negatives with it. I would say the main positives are that it's really easy to use. Even with gloves on, these buttons are absolutely fine to press. The screen's nice and clear, and I found it very easy to get it working. The main negative, I would say, was battery life. As predicted, as soon as you start using the functionalities on it, it starts draining that battery down. But if you cut it down to half-hour tracking and you use the other settings sparingly, I managed to actually get a couple of days use out of it without recharging it. Recharging it is actually really quick and really easy though, so as long as you're expecting that, it's not too much of a negative. On the spaghetti tour, it worked well for 3 days. Another day I forgot to use it, decided not to bother, and on one of them it ran out of battery about 2 hours into the trip. I'll next show you some footage from the website and my app so that you can see that stuff. So initially when you go to the inReach.garmin.com website, you register your device and it gives you a load of options about paying for subscriptions, etc. The other thing that you'll notice once you've done all of that is there's a kind of social tab. Now, when you open that, it gives you options about Facebook, Twitter, but also your kind of own personal Garmin share page. Now, that page is something that you can either have as a link in all your messages that you send, or just as something that you send out to the relevant friends, colleagues, and relatives that you want to be able to see where you are. When they follow that link, however they've received it, they come to a page like this on a mobile device, and a slightly more complicated one on a desktop. So, what is it? Well, what they basically see on the mobile device is initially a map with the breadcrumb trails that you have laid using your Garmin. So, here you can see that we've left the Climb Matterhorn lift, we've gone over the Brighthorn, done a half traverse, and dropped down to the Val d'Ayas Refugio. Now, you'll notice that there's only one that comes back out of the Refugio, and that's because the next day when I turned it on I hadn't realised that the battery was critically low from the day before, and basically it died partway up the glacier on the return up towards Pollux. Now, that is an issue, and I think, as I've said in the rest of the video, battery life is one of the main things that you have to think about with this device. However, it is manageable. So looking back, I just laid way too many breadcrumbs. So what I did was I changed the number of tracking points that the Garmin was sending out and altered how it looked for messages, etc. And actually it worked quite well after that. Having said that, we dropped down to the Refugio Quintino cellar, and the next day I forgot to turn it on. And that's another failing. If you don't turn it on, it doesn't work. On this day, incidentally, we went over the Naso del Liscum here, rather than taking the path around the bottom, and we did a very pleasant PD route. And we dropped down to the Nefetti hut, which I didn't drop a waypoint on the app for, which is somewhere around the middle of the screen. Now, the next day, Claire and I did the Three Peaks route over to Punta Nefetti, which is at the top of the screen. And you'll notice the breadcrumb trail only starts part way up the glacier. Now that's because even though I had the Garmin turned on, I only turned on the tracking when I needed it, which was when we started to get away from the crowds a little bit, and when we started to get onto more technical terrain as well.
On this day, we've laid a lot less of the breadcrumb trail. Having done that, this meant that it actually lasted for the next day as well. And you can see the return back to Zermatt here, down the glacier past the Monte Rosa hut. Anyway, so what else can this share page do? Well, if you allow it to, you can click messages, and in this situation you're going to get this message here. But basically what this option does is, if your Garmin is turned on and you do allow it, then people can send you a message directly off this page to your inReach, and it's a way of them getting hold of you. So we'll just click close. Similarly, my Garmin isn't turned on at the moment, so locate isn't going to work either. But if you allow it, this will allow your friends and family to basically ping the device.
All in all, I was really happy with it, and as an SOS device, except for the day that it ran out with battery, I was more than happy to have this with me. It's tiny, it fits in the little pocket that I keep on my shoulder strap on my bag, and never had trouble getting a signal or anything. So all in all, from this trip, I think I'm going to recommend its use. After a bit more long-term use, I might change my mind, but I doubt it. Compared to my Spot, this is a little winner.
So, this is what happens when you press your Garmin inReach Mini. These turn up. 1, 2 helicopters from an accident over here on this hill here. So, and I've literally just got back from the Alps. And we're having a walk in the lakes. And we witnessed an accident. Definitely works.
So a quick whistle-stop tour of the app now. This is going to be by no means massively comprehensive, but it should show you how things work. The Earthmate app is offered by Garmin, and you don't need an inReach to have it, although it's going to actually then be fully functional. So basically, this page here, More, lets you control a whole bunch of things that you can control on the device itself, and go into the settings and change the settings of the device when they're paired. We're not currently paired, so it's not going to all come up. One of the key ones here is the SOS button. When you're attached to the inReach, sliding that, you get the same effect as if you had held down the button on the device itself. Now, this compass here, even when connected to the inReach, is really annoyingly attached to the phone and not the inReach device. So that's somewhere where they could potentially improve things. It's not necessarily the most accurate on your phone, and that could be a nice change. Tracking, generally the tracking here is actually the tracking on your phone itself, although you can start and stop tracking on the device using this page as well. I'm going to skip one here and go to Map. So this is very similar to the Map page on the website. However, it's that little bit quicker to load because the maps are already loaded, depending on which ones that you've downloaded, paid for, or used for free. This lets you see both your waypoints and where your messages are sent, so that's actually quite interesting. One point here to say is that you can see all my waypoints, you can see the routes that I've been taking recently, but you can also see, if I come right down here to Cumbria, a red message. This is where I've actually activated the SOS button on my device, and what happens is that first off, your waypoint frequency increases dramatically, so I think every 2 minutes. So that's one thing to know. You're going to be tracked much better as soon as you press that button, but also you can see that there's lots of little red messages there. That's basically because what happens is you get a reply to the SOS device as a text message through it from the center in America. You then enter into a text message conversation with those people, very much like if you were just banging out a text message to your friends. This is brilliant. This lets you impart a lot of information very quickly. It's not intrusive. You're not on the phone talking to somebody and then talking to the patient. You're able to do things in time, and it's actually just brilliant. We had 0 cell signal where this accident occurred, and within 2 minutes of it happening, my mum knew that I had activated my device. Within another couple of minutes, she knew that I was absolutely fine. Then it was able to get to the nitty-gritty of organising a rescue, and the call centre were able to contact the emergency services in the UK, give full location information, way better than you might be able to off a map in a hurry if you were stressed. but also they were able to relay the information I was giving them about the state of the casualty as well. Now, I'm not going to go into that text message conversation. The reasoning is just purely down to the fact that I don't think that would be fair on the chap that we'd seen fall, or the family of him. I think it's just not right. But if we go into messages, you can see the messages I have been sending. So here are a combination of messages to basically my parents and my girlfriend. You can send a group message off this app very easily, just like you can off any text messaging app, like the standard one on my Apple device. However, if you send it out to 3 people, you're not going to get a reply to that page. You're going to get your reply from each individual. However, I should be able to find one where I have had a conversation with somebody. There you go, there's one with my mum. So my mum's asked, what am I up to today? I've said I'm doing a lap of Great End, and she's happy to know that I'm safe. And yeah, I've used this extensively. It works really well. I can't stress how well this works. It's like having a satellite phone that's devoted to text messaging. It's brilliant. Just like in a normal situation, you type mum, you select her device, and you send a message to her. It's that easy. If your phone's dead, you can still do all of this through your inReach, and you can use the presets that we set up on the computer beforehand. You just don't have as many of your contacts there. It's only the ones that you've added, but that's no biggie really. This though is the game changer, and this is why I would fully recommend this device actually.